Good morning, my friends, wherever you are, and good afternoon on the East Coast. My thoughts and prayers were with everyone out there on a beautiful Sunday, wherever you happen to do. Remember, my friends, a beautiful day starts with a beautiful mindset. And I woke up this morning feeling like, wow, how excited I am. And I say that sincerely because of the person I'm about to introduce you to, who has really affected my life as a hairdresser, as a person, inspired me, motivated me in so many ways. And it goes all the way back when I started beauty school in 1976. I had the first opportunity to meet this particular individual in the late 70s when they came into the San Francisco Bay Area and they did a hair show. And at that time, it was Toni and Guy, and I was just mesmerized by what I saw. And the opportunity to actually be there and assist Anthony that day just touched me in so many ways. It changed my life in terms of how I looked at things as a hairdresser. So you're probably wondering, what was my intent and purpose in terms of bringing this man on? Well, first of all, a lot of you asked me, Sam, was there anyone in particular that you followed? Was there anyone in particular that motivated you, that inspired you, that sparked your sense of creativity? Well, there's been so many people, but I want to take you back to my beginning of my career. In the beginning, it was Paul Mitchell in those mid-70s and late 70s. That's right. I'm an old man. Yet in those times, there was a magazine that I happened to pick up, and it was called Oral Vision. In this magazine, I saw this hair that just made my eyes go huge in terms of what I saw. I said, how can you do that with hair? It was these hats that were woven, these intricate braids. And it was that magazine, Oral Vision, back in those days, that really inspired me, from the likes of Anthony Mascolo, Robert Labetta, Trevor Sorby. I mean, the list goes on. Andrew Collins, Peter Collins. I mean, the list goes on in terms of the inspiration that was in that magazine. Renato Brunis, to name a few. And if you don't know these people, this is one particular reason why I wanted to do this on a Sunday. But this person really impacted me as a hairdresser creatively. The man is a legend. There's no doubt about it. And it goes back to those days. This man is the man that I looked up to about making sure that I just want to know, with intent and purpose, make sure that the youth, you need to know who this man is. He's a legacy. So he inspired me in so many ways. This guy is 3 times British Hairdresser of the Year, Avant-Garde Hairdresser of the Year, who knows how many times, London Hairdresser of the Year, the Lifetime Achievement Award, and he happens to be the creative director of teaching. My friends, please put your hands together and give me a little thumbs up, and please throw some hearts and welcome Anthony Mascolo. Anthony, good morning, my friend. Good evening, I should say to you.
Sam, what an introduction. Thank you so much. That's a little bit too much, really, but thank you. We've known each other a very, very long time, and I've been looking forward to doing this. It's learning new technologies and kind of creating communication, probably even more so that we can't even be together, than when we can. So I'm very excited about today. Thank you for a beautiful introduction. Thanks.
My pleasure, my friend. It's very sincere. Anthony, let's start back, my friend. I want to go back to a particular time frame in terms of what I spoke about those days and where you inspired me. And this book is one of my favorites. I continually keep reaching it out. And for those of you who don't know, this is the Toni and Guy Classics book that I purchased way back in those days. And Anthony, this is where I think it started with you and the family. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Well, I think, that particular book was in the 90s, and that was a great collaboration with all the team. At that point, I think we were very, we've become from also runs to leaders, and that was really kind of very exciting for us. I'm just going to try and get myself in the right place here, and so that one was really, trying to make classics feel now. And I think that's what it was. Sometimes when you do classics, it was always about, okay, you've got to learn all this before you're allowed to learn anything, or you've got to learn all this before you can do anything. And for me at that time, it was about getting young people inspired to want to learn it now and do it now. And so we tried to take that whole feeling of, all the basics that you need to learn, all the classics that you need to learn before you're allowed to kind of cut hair and whatever, and make it more interesting and more current. And I think, in fact, when you look at that book, it's great. It looks more current than some of the ones we've done over the last 10 years.
It's definitely a classic. I think the youth, I want you to hear what Anthony's saying out there. Understanding those fundamentals and those principles are so important. Anthony, for the youth out there, for the student, that wants to, move into a direction that you moved into, or let's say they want to be you, just like I said one day, I want to be like Anthony. What advice would you have for the youth?
Well, look, I think it's not that people want to be like me. I wanted to be like someone as well. I think it's always having someone to aspire to, and we all have that. And I think I can be, it's like you, Sam. You're an inspiration to so many people, and people want to be like you too. But we want, when you're younger, you're training, you're learning, you're experiencing, you're gathering, you're accumulating, content and information. So then when you do what you do, you can get closer to 100% success as much as possible. And, to give anyone advice is to, what's new today is old tomorrow. As I always say that, you've got to keep learning. We're not dissimilar. We're probably one of the only industries that change so fast. The other one's fashion, obviously. And, cooking as well. You have the old techniques that keep everything flowing, but then you need the new stuff that makes you look like you're innovating and going forward. But I think any advice is that if you really love this job, there's so many different aspects to have. So learn it, learn the foundations, learn the strength, learn all of that, the things that you need to be able to execute your job. But then see where you want to go, which direction. Teaching, doing clients, being a session worker. All these things you need to learn bits of it, and then you will find the thing that you love most. And I think it's
Anthony,
important to have, as much as you can.
With all due respect to your creative activities and your creative abilities, my friend, what would you say along your career was probably one of the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome? Was there one? If there was one, what would that be?
Well, I think, the being part of a very strong family, my brothers, Toni and Guy and Bruno, and, and Andre being part of it, my dad as well. There was a lot to live up to. They were very talented. Everyone had a different skill. But those skills together gave us the advantage to be able to do the salons, to then do the school, and then to do trips. And I think really it was, that family camaraderie of, pushing each other to do the best you can. Also not really always pushing, but you had to strive to do as good as you can.
Yes.
Because everyone had such a high expectation. But I think to look at, what I felt. I think I really loved hairdressing when I was about 19, because I started earlier. I started when I was 14, 15, and I was doing clients, and it came quite easy. So it wasn't it wasn't a chore in the sense, but it didn't grab hold of me in the sense that, I became really passionate. And that happened when I was 19. And all of a sudden, I used to go with my brother Bruno and do photo shoots, and I would assist him, and he'd work for magazines. And then, he took me on a trip going to Sebastian. I think it was called Cassandra 2000. In the 70s with Jerry Cosenza, and that was amazing. Went there and did plats and stuff, and then when I was 19, all of a sudden it hit me. I really love this, and I want to be the best I can be. And I think it does click. And what will click is the part that you love of what you're doing. And that for me was the imagery and creating the terminology, the imagery, and then really making us look like, instead of also runs, leaders. So, when I was 19, I think the obstacle I came across really was session work was an obstacle for me, because I loved doing it, but I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And they didn't, that's what session work is, until you become really, really one of the top out there. Then you can dictate whatever. But, it was difficult to kind of just, people telling you what to do. So I moved in then to teaching. And teaching was a lot better for me, because I could then explain and teach people what I really wanted to say. And I think that's, that was the obstacle when I was like 17, 18. And then by that time I became 19 and decided what to do.
Anthony, if you could...
I don't even know if that's true. I mean, it's such a long time ago. I know it's true, but it seems like it's like ages ago, different planet.
Yes, it certainly was ages ago. I mean, I remember going to Salon International, as I've told you before, always taking those classes that you offered at St. Christopher's Place.
I'm being reminded that on an everyday basis. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I'm 63.
Yes.
God Almighty, that is like, if I would have known someone 63 when I was younger, I thought that was like ancient, completely. But as you get older, you think, you know what? It's not that old anymore. It's okay.
Yes, it is okay. It's just a number, right?
It's Christopher's Place. Did you see that?
So, so I want to ask you a question. So, I mean, your work is it's got this creative, it just gets people's attention. It's creative. When you think about creativity, I just want to ask you, where do you get it from? Your inspiration? I know people want to know that. Like, Sam, a lot of people out there saying, Sam, I'm not creative. I'm pretty basic. What's your opinion on that? Where do you get your inspiration, your motivation?
I think that, some people are artistic. I think there's creativity in everyone. And I think it's not, you sit in the bath, you think a million ideas, it doesn't really work that way. I mean, when you're young, what you do is you learn from what you see. So, I would never say I invented loads of stuff. I was inspired by Trevor Sorby, by Robert Abetta. All those guys influenced me into trying what they were doing and trying to do my own version. And, I would never put my hands up and say, look, I did all that stuff. No way. I was the younger one anyway. So for me, it was a fantastic learning curve. And it was a learning curve that, and mostly my brother kind of pushed me. And, he was a brilliant hairdresser and just kind of let me then carry on, but I think inspiration and creativity really is something that you need to research. You need to have discipline. You need to have detail. Detail with detail gets you to be much more creative. Going more into something, learning more about something, micro kind of visualizing it is very important, because the more you find the detail, the more you can execute stuff and think of it and create a balance. But, there is that element that, there's that Italian influence that I think is part of our DNA. But, when you look out there, there are so many creative people. It's unbelievable. And I think we got trapped in our own little world of professional kind of creativity, and we did all these things and pictures and whatever. But then that's why I started in-fringe. All of a sudden I saw these people that weren't even hairdressers creating stuff with hair that was absolutely incredible. So being creative isn't someone that's great. It's mad. Look at that cover. I mean, it's incredible. That's done by a photographer and this hairdresser. I'm sorry, I can't say his name at the moment because it's in there. But he's a session worker, and they just did that idea, and it was fantastic. You get inspiration from things like that. I think we all give a bit of inspiration, and we all take a lot of inspiration. I think you need the both, to move forward. But I think if you've got it in you and you really want to do it, then you'll search and find it. But you've got to, if you have that want, you'll want to do it. And if it's in you, you'll do it. If you feel it's not in you, you won't want to do it. You'll do something else.
Anthony, do you find I want to talk about in-fringe in a moment, but do you find your creative ability, do you find it as unusual or unique?
Mine?
Yes.
No, mine's not unique. I think there's a lot of people out there that are, more talented than I am. I think I've been very lucky in grabbing things and learning from a lot of people and having a very, I was trained to have a team and to be part of a team. And I think when you have a part of a team, you're part of a team, you all work together. You all inspire each other to come up with things, and to develop and to grow. The more you kind of have, and also you need a reason. You need a reason to create sometimes. And I think, the hairdressing awards were a great reason, and that really was the shift of when we started doing a lot of photos and a lot of kind of different imagery, because, obviously the imagery that I used to work with and be part of was Toni Guy imagery in the early 80s. Right. And then when it changed for us is, because everyone used pretty much the same photographers. So, you could get mixed up who did what cut and what style and whatever. But when we started doing our own photography, which, we can talk about that later, because there's a great story to that, how I did it and how my wife made me do it. It then set us apart, and it created a different kind of balance. Because when you're a session worker and you're a photographer's photographing your work, you see how you want it photographed. They see how they think you want it photographed, or how they want to photograph it. So that's where the switch came over, is when you could control that and actually see what you wanted to do and actually capture it. But I think there's so much talent out there, and that's what in-fringe really represents. Because at first, when we started in-fringe, it was me and Pat could do loads of different ideas, and we'd do loads of shoots. All of a sudden, we realized there was so much stuff out there, so many talented people coming in. Here's my wife. She's here. Come here. Don't say
yes, I was just going to say, where's Pat? Hey, Pat. How are you, my dear?
Good.
Great to see you. Now, Pat is really instrumental in what, based on where I believe where Anthony is right now.
Well, I think Pat is the one that, was the one that, she was a brilliant hairdresser.
Yes.
Brilliant makeup artist, brilliant mother, brilliant cook. Women can do more than one thing, which is, it's quite annoying. But then, we do one thing and we try and do it well. Women can do everything. But then,
let's talk about in-fringe. I mean, you and Pat started in-fringe, and to me, it's like an anthropology of hair. I mean, it's like outside the box. It's really interesting. Now, for those of you that don't subscribe to this, in-fringe.com is where you can subscribe. But Anthony, talk about me in terms of in-fringe. You were doing your photography, and then all of a sudden, here comes this huge magazine.
Well, but for me, that's a new venture that me and Pat did 4 years ago, and I think you know, the idea of always loving to do shoots and imagery and creating, you know, building a team and working with a team at Toni Guy was, you know, all the first learning curves of everything that we started through the 80s and 90s, and you know, and then still today. I mean, it's an amazing you know, story, a great amazing legacy, and still amazing great work that's being done. You know, I mean, it's right there, as good as it ever was, and I think that's all down to having lots of strong disciplines and then creating a very strong unity with team. When we did in-fringe, it was really so we could explore and we could experiment. We'd no branding, no products, no branding, no, you know, nothing, just pure creativity, you know, and literally allowing people to express their kind of thing. But it was more for us to do it and have some people in it. But then what we found, some of the work that people were sending in was incredible. So we ended up doing very little and really becoming saying, you know what, let's stand back and let's share this stuff. And you know, at the moment we're not printing till next year. We've got 3 already that have been done. And we have online, we have our magazine, it's online. And I think there, on a constant basis, on a regular basis, we're always putting things that we haven't seen before. And that's from the world of hair. You know, we went to the Biennale in Venice, you know, this last year, in fact, actually. And, you know, they had so much hair there. It was incredible. But, you know, never really noticed it. So we did a story, you know, hair at the Biennale. And there's artists, there's no hairdressers there, but there's, you know, there's people that work with hair as a material. And it's wonderful to get that inspiration. And all these things can influence you in what you want to do, you know.
Right.
And, you know, you've got to just take from everywhere to then feed your own kind of vehicle to your own destination.
So when you think about in-fringe, one of the things is like, when I open up that magazine, it's like you see things that are like unimaginable in terms of what you see. But what I like what you're doing, Anthony, is like, it's almost like leaders know when to step aside. What I love about in-fringe is the content from the outside that you're bringing into this, and the how you're paying homage to these people and giving them the opportunity. Kudos to you, because I always saw that in your team when you did presentations. Toni and Guy back in those days, and the TG team, you guys, when you came out on stage with 10, 12 people, and you went around and you had these sound bites of strong education. I mean, a well-oiled machine is what I thought about that. Talk about those days.
Well, for me, you know, it was like I said, it was always team. You know, it was always team. I was part of when Bruno created the team with Toni and Guy, and you know, I was part of that, and so was Pat, and there was loads of us, you know, and I think that's gone through. I think it allows you to grow when you share. You know, my brother always said, show everything you got. That means you got to create something more. You know, if you hold everything back, you're not doing anything more. You know, and so we always had this attitude of whatever we're doing, just tell everyone and share it and whatever. And then when you've shown someone, you've got to do something else because you want to show them something else. And I think that's kind of excelled itself into every avenue of what all the vehicles we use to do what we do, you know. And what we use, honestly, we learn how to cut, we learn how to style, we learn how to color, we learn how to dress hair and whatever. Then we learn how you want it shot, how to teach it, how to photograph it, how to present it in a show. And how do you use it? You know, printing books and everything. I think it was all really a form of sharing. And I think that goes, again, the same thing, you know, because, you know, if I be the leader at that moment in time, everyone underneath me is making me look great. And they need to be given credit. And, you know, and I felt that was very strong. You know, when I was a session worker, you know, the credit was minimum for a hairdresser. So I always told myself, if I ever make a magazine or anything, the hairdresser will be the first thing you see. And they're the ones that are going to get the credit. And that's what we do with in-fringe. You know, the hairdresser is the key, the session worker, the artist using hair, whatever. That's the key, because that's what we represent, you know. Anthropology of hair means really the culture of the influence that hair has on cultures and has done in the past and will do in the future. And I think that when you open that little kind of bubble, you know, it's kind of really large. I mean, all of a sudden, we've been stuck in our own professional world for a long time. And when you actually look out to see and seeing that other creativity being brought in by not just hairdressers, but by people that love hair, it's incredible. And I think we need to share that and we need to show it. You know, I mean, I judge awards like you do, you know, and you judge awards.
Yes.
The only ones everyone sees are the winners and maybe the couple behind it, you know. But really, what about all the other 100 people that entered? And you know how difficult it is to do that, how much passion you need and how much, you know, dedication, how much, you know, obsession you need, I think. You know, and, you know, that needs to be, you know, rewarded or at least recognized into some kind of element. So for me, it's a little bit of that, and try, you know, look, it's been great for me, and my brothers gave me a fantastic opportunity. It's our time to give other people opportunity and to bring them through.
That's right. It definitely is. You know, I go back to that whole thing about leaders know when to step aside, because there's some talented youth out there. Anthony, you spoke about something just now. You spoke about judging awards. There's a lot of people watching this that enter the North American Hairdressing Awards, and we certainly honor and love the British Hairdressing Awards. When you're judging photo work or you're evaluating even your own photo work, I mean, what do you look for in terms of judging work or evaluating even your own photographic work?
I think when you're looking at awards, and this is personal, I suppose, when you see it, it tells you straight away. It tells you straight away, oh, I like that. When you look at something and you see something that impresses you, you know, it tells you straight away. You don't look at it for like hours, do you? Oh, this actually impresses me. It hits you straight away.
Yeah.
You know, and I think anything, you know, when you do work, it's about people saying, wow, what's that? And then they want to investigate. And I think when you're judging an award, you know, you're told that, yeah, that one stands out, or, you know, whatever. And I think with the same way as what you do with your own work, but then, you know, we believe what we do is the best. And that is the most fundamental and most important thing you've got to do, is to believe that what you do is the best. And, you know, when you have that belief, then, you know, you can get there. And I think that's very, very important. So when judging, always judge from your taste. It has to be your taste. And I remember going judging one time, and, you know, and I saw you know, it was a different kind of awards, but I saw what I chose first and right through to fifth, and you know, 4 or 5 other judges. We all had a look. They were so different.
Yes.
So different of what I liked and what someone else liked, but we're all, you know, hairdressers that have done great, you know, and so it's not everyone has the same kind of look, you know, feeling that of what you do, or likes the same thing, and that's what's great about it. It makes it very individual, and it makes it very strong.
You know, that's so true what you say, because a lot of times what's cool to most people is not cool to some people. And taste is a journey in this industry. Over the years, I know my taste has changed in terms of my eyes seeing something and what I happen to like. You know, my friend, you've had so many accomplishments over the years. I mean, tons of awards and so many accomplishments. Is there any particular accomplishment that you feel is the most satisfaction that you've had, and why?
Well, you know, we're talking about work. You know, obviously life is a journey, and, you know, and that journey, you know, if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough like me that you find the right partner to go through that journey, then, you know, it doesn't become work on its own and living at home another. It becomes one big kind of life. And, you know, with my wife, you know, we ended up, me and Pat, we worked together. We went through that early stage of seeing if we were any good at what we were doing. And then we toured in America with Renato, and we went to, you know, Pat didn't come to Sebastian, but she came with Renato and other bits. And since then, we've obviously always worked together. And I think that, you know, that having that journey and going through, you know, we're very lucky in what we've achieved, but we've had a lot of help and a lot of kind of direction, you know, with my family, and, you know, and obviously when you become a partnership, working through that and having the same kind of passion and goals, then you can strive for what you want. You know, I haven't, you know, it's great to look back, and I'm an old man now, so it's nice to say, yeah, I won this award, that award, and whatever. There's people that won more awards than I have, you know, but at the same time, you know, the one that I'm proud of and the one we won most of was team. We won 12 of those, 10 of those in a row, and then we were stopped to do it. So that, to me, you know, I don't mention that too often, but that was the one where you go up and all of you go up, and all of you are getting that kind of accolade. And I think that is where you get stronger. You know, if you're on your own doing this all on your own, I don't think it'd be, you know, people get to where they go, but behind them they have a great team. You know, but I think it's everyone has a great team. But for me, you know, that's a great point of doing photography. I can let other people do the hair. You know, doing a magazine, I can let other people do the photography. So you're allowed to kind of move along and just, you know, bring and move your pace.
That's what I love about you, man. Is I just love you, man, because you're so humble, and you just bring those people up. I mean, you think about the names that you've established within that have been along with you. I mean, there's so many names out there that have come from that family or that group of TG and Toni and Guy. So you certainly inspired a lot of people. So, you know, when you think about the creativity, let's talk about creativity for a moment. Just, you know, I would just want to get into your head. So just real simple. What is creativity to you? When you think creativity?
Creativity is, you know, it's kind of thinking of things you haven't done. It's putting pieces together. Creativity is being creative, artistic. It's a term for an action, I suppose. And that action is to try and do something that is different, you know, and you know, whatever word we use, you know, which is basically, it's that one. It's a way of trying to just, you know, we have things that we need to fulfill or to satisfy. It's like when you're hungry, you've got to eat. You know,
Yes.
you've got creativity, you've got to feel you're creative. So you've got to do stuff to actually fulfill that thing that the need for it, I suppose. And it's a strange way of looking at it, but
Okay.
you know,
So
if you don't, and you need a reason, and you do need a reason. And I think the reason at the beginning was, you know, because I was trying to, you know, to learn and to prove to my brother I was good, and you know, and then you're going into awards because then you want to win them, and
right.
you know, and you've got a show to do, so you've got to do the great show. So you give yourself reasons for things, and I think my bit really is that hairdressing is my first love. I love, you know, I'm proud to be a hairdresser and I love it. But I love all the other bits that allow you to look even better, like photography, filmmaking, you know, architecture, design. All of those things are very inspirational, and you know, and they're things that I like to do, and you know. But the real reason is I don't want to be a photographer, and I don't want to be an architect, and I don't want to be all those things. I want to be an even better hairdresser. So those things help me do that and portray that, and I think and build that team and that legacy. I've always wanted that. You know, we're on the same par as fashion. You know,
Yes.
you know. And, in the 90s, you know, late 80s, in fact, you know, we started doing advertising in magazines, which no one had done in England, but they were doing it in France, you know, Jean-Louis David and Monteiro and all those. And I thought, you know, as hairdressers, we got to look like fashion. We got to look as good as them. So again,
Right.
for me, that's creativity, or it's an obsession, and you're using creativity to get, you know, to kind of deal with your obsession. But that obsession, you end up having an army of people that are obsessed as well. So you work together and you kind of strive, and you know, and you camaraderie and goes far as you can. It's still there, you know, we're still there. With this whole situation, which is terrible. And, you know, I know we haven't said anything, but I hope everyone's safe and well, and you know, keeping safe and well, because it is a difficult time. You know, but we're connecting more with our team worldwide. You know, I'm not saying that we didn't before, we connected really well, but with this situation, using technology, we're all learning it more. You know, I know you know it really good, but we're actually connecting all the time. And it's felt very, very strong as a team, you know. As a, you know,
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Let's talk about that for a moment, because I remember the days. In order for me to see you, Anthony, I had to jump on a plane in order for me to see you. And now, with the way the world is, this connection that we have through digital resource, through virtual reality, we have an opportunity to really connect, and the world is closer in terms. I'm talking about the hairdressing community. So you know, I'm going to ask you a question, my friend. Where do you think the hairdressing industry is going? Where do you see the future, just from your perspective?
Look, we've got to remember what hairdressing is. It's a service. People come, we cut their hair because they want to look better, and we want to please them, we want to make them look amazing. And, you know, and that's grown into having businesses and whatever. And that's not been new. It's not new. It's been around for ages, like millions of years, you know. And when we understand that, it's how we're going to carry on doing that when we get back. Obviously, we're going to have a few new rules. We're going to have a few more disciplines. But fundamentally, we'll still be able to cut someone's hair and get it so she feels good, and have that little bit of contact that we have and communication that we have as you know, a hairdresser has with his client. You know, I think they're one of the things I said before was, you know, the Sunday Times did an article 4 or 5 years ago, and, you know, the people that enjoy their job the most, the happiest, are care workers. And you know what? That is obvious. As, you know, you can tell now. You know, they're still out there doing it, even when it's like life-threatening, whatever. The second that loved their job was hairdressers.
Yes.
Right. So now, of all the other jobs there are, they're the ones that were having great fun and loved it because they have contact, they have communication. It's something that you learn, but you never learn it because what's new today is old tomorrow. You've got to keep learning, and it's very social, and you can make money, and you know. But the real basis is that you're doing someone's hair. Now we've got all these other things off of it, which is education, teaching, you know, session work, magazines, artistic, shapes, wigs, you know, all this other stuff that, because we get bored quickly, right? If you do clients, if you do 17, 18 clients, I don't know if people still do that, or 15 clients a day, all right? And you do that for 6 days a week, like what we used to do when we were younger. And no, and I'm not, I don't mean just for a year or two, you know, for years. You know, it's quite tiring. So and also you need something to stimulate you, and we get bored. So that was where we started doing shoots, started teaching, to add variety to the whole process of being a hairdresser. So I think where we're going to be is, you know, we're going to carry on doing what we do. We're going to carry on. We're just going to change some rules. We're going to have social distancing probably for a while. I mean, America always had more space between units. In England, we used to cram them in, you know, two in a meter if we could. But, you know, all these rules will come in and we'll work it, and people will feel safer and whatever. But they will still want that contact, that communication, that personal situation. But we can carry on what we do with the situation. And for me, you know, being able to you know, why I wanted to do this with you, because I think it's important. You know, there's a lot of people out there not as fortunate as us, you know, and at the same time, they need to be inspired. They're all at different ages of their journey in their hairdressing, you know, kind of, you know, career. You know, if you're a young hairdresser, you've got to keep practicing. You know, if you're you know, an older one like me, and, you know, I don't want to say you because you're a lot younger than me, but, you know, it's, you know, you need to be inspired and you need stuff. So we all need something. So I think this whole technology will allow us to communicate, get together, you know, and actually do stuff together. You know, and you can't teach, you know, you can teach people. Everyone's seeing haircuts done online, and there's loads of them. Yes. We took a conscious decision not to do them at the moment because I felt, you know what, there's so much out there. I'll direct you to the ones that are out there. Have a look at that. If you want to keep inspired with the cuts, have a look at that. But what we want to do is just chat to you, see what you need, see how you are, and talk, and kind of get our own heads around, you know, being there and communicating a little bit more. And so, you know, these times now are not about, you know, TG or Redkin or this one or that one. It's about how we're going to help our fellow hairdresser and the people that joined, you know, being part of this, you know, this industry that we have, and how we're going to look after them. And we can look after them by, you know, just giving them as much inspiration like we've always done, and still trying to do it as much as we can.
Anthony, there's a question from Taylor Jameson. She's interested in knowing what woman is, if there's women out there that inspire you, who would it be?
What woman that inspires me? My wife.
Yes.
Oh, you mean one that looks good? My wife looks amazing to me. All right? My wife is my inspiration. You know, and I think if I look at a woman that would inspire me, like hair-wise, whatever. I've done models for years.
Yes.
I've done models for years, and I like all the styles. And when it, you know, certain things at certain times, you know, and you know, so if I was to choose, you know, somebody who inspires me, I mean, it's, you know, first and foremost, it's my wife. But then, you know, being inspired is really kind of, you see, when you see a picture, you know, I mean, pretty much I'm seeing always women with hair. You know, my focus is really women with hair. It's not so much with, you know, I don't do so much men, but I like total look and where you combine it and whatever. But, you know, my wife, you know, absolutely. And then, you know, I think, what are the models that I used to like? The models Claudia. I like. Claudia.
What about hairdresser, Anthony? What about a hairdresser? A woman that's a hairdresser aside from my wife? Because I know
look, they're brilliant, all of them. You know, I mean, we were with some of them, you know, the other week, weren't we, when we were in.
Right, yes, we were. Yes.
You know, and, you know, Antoinette's amazing. You know, there's, for me, Christelle's a brilliant colorist. She's amazing. Yes. There's so many, you know, look, the women are better than the men. I mean, you know, but the men are the ones that are out in the forefront. You know, some of the women have rebelled against that and said, hold on a minute, we're going to show you that we're better. And they do. But not all women need to, you know, don't do that. So what can I say?
You know, Anthony,
I mean, Pat still, you know, I just put up one of her plats she did. She still can do the bloody things better than I can. You know, well, nearly.
I see so many. right? I see so many right now, so many women right now coming to the forefront, which I think is so deserving and so right.
Oh, big
Because
time. I mean,
it,
I was raised when I was raised in Italy. It's all the women that did all the work. They're the
yes,
ones that did all the hair and creatively. My niece, Sasha, it just comes natural to her. She didn't really even need to learn it. And I think women have that kind of skill, and they're able to do more than one thing. And I think that's what's really kind of no, of course, inspiration is from when you have a really good partnership and
yes.
communication. You got to remember we've been together probably 5 years, maybe 45
Good
years.
for you.
We've been
That's
married 40. How many, Pat? Where are you? How many years was it?
You're as bad as I am.
But no, it was when I got married. I forgot when I got married. Man. What was it? 80 something, 86. That's it. 86.
Well, I love your whole entire concept of a team because, my whole feeling is a team is not made up of a group of individuals. It's made up of a team of individuals. And you certainly throughout the years have built a team. And I know a big supporter of that is your wife, Pat. But let's continue on. Let's talk about your photography. When we were in Madrid, Spain, we were sitting there talking, and I had a great time, my friend. I will never forget the opportunity. It was a great time. But we talked about your library space. Tell us about that library space.
Well, when things move on, and when we were TG, the first that started off, we were also runs. Then it became we started becoming leaders when we did Bedhead and whatever. We needed to move on. When we started doing color, it was very difficult. We wouldn't have been able to do it because we would have been killed by the big companies. So we needed to join forces with someone, and we did. And it allowed us to take to do the color professionally better, more science and technology. And they've done an amazing job, Unilever, and they've taken it to the next level. But the only reason I say that is because I used to have Bedhead Studio, and that's where we used to do our creation and do our stuff. Things you start something, it grows, and then it gets to a plateau, and then it needs to then you need to let it, function as it does, and then you need to start something else. So it was the time when, it kind of passed hands. I'm still there, obviously, but, unfortunately at that time, my brother Guy passed away. So I was kind of taking a creative sabbatical, if you want to call it that, or whatever. But, the thing is, he's still there. I still think he's around the corner. I never saw him that much anyway at the time. So I always think he's around the corner still, and he's always in my thoughts, absolutely. As is Toni and Andre as well,
Yes.
But it allowed me then I needed a space, but a different one, And so we were looking for storage, actually, because I'm a hoarder and we've got all this stuff that I've got to try and get rid of. And my kids are hoarders now, so I've got their stuff. So we found the library, but then, the library wasn't, bloody storage. It was an amazing place. And it was derelict, there was no heating, the windows were broken, there was no water. And they were using it as a site office for this big kind of old university for colouring. For cooking and whatever.
Yes.
And they were then, like they've done in England, they turned it into, lovely apartments. But the only one they couldn't turn into anything was the library space because it was grade 2 listed. And also it was, it was all stuck with these wooden shelves and whatever. And it was actually made by the Tate, Lyle Tate. So it's called the Tate Library. It's not called that now because I didn't want to do that. But it's actually it was called the Tate Library, which he built for this university. And so we cleaned it all up, got it working, and and we got it. And in there, we just make it a creative installation. Whatever's going on, whatever we're doing with the magazine, with wigs on dummies, all the clothes we've used for shows, we've got it all on display. It's great. You can put it in a cupboard, no one ever sees it, or you can put it up and you can share it and you can show people. And we've got a chandelier in there, it's in that magazine that you saw. And it's online if anyone ever wants to have a look. Made of 6,000 pieces of things that we use in the trade, from rollers to scissors to brushes to tongs from really old, old ones to new ones. So it's fun. It's a fun thing.
One of these days, I hope to get to that library space.
Oh, you know what? It'd be fantastic. Maybe we'll get you over and you can do something. We can do something for everyone.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. I'm still hoping to come to Salon International in October. Anthony, you're talking a lot.
Who knows if that'll happen? But.
I know. Anthony, you talk a lot about food. Obviously, you love food. So
I live to eat. I don't eat
So I
to live.
so I want to take a step out of the box and ask you a question. If your creative work was edible, what would it taste like?
Oh, spaghetti vongole, I suppose. Spaghetti vongole, Nobu sushi, you know, everything that I love is that, you know, you interpret that in everything you do. Spaghetti vongole.
Would it taste like cacio pepe?
Langoustines with scalini soup. And then,
Or would it taste something like cacio pepe?
Cacio pepe, yeah, absolutely. I don't eat all Italian. I mean, I try. But you know what? There's other stuff that don't make you bloated and you sit there for about 5 hours and can't move. You know, and that unfortunately, you know, the Italian food does that a little bit to you. But like anything, I wish I could be cooking it because my wife's really a good cook. So what's the point? She does it.
You're lucky.
And then the other one, my son's really a good cook. So he cooks. So all I do is eat it. So, you know, I can tell them what to do and tell them they're doing it all wrong, which is what, you know, a father always does, that thinks he knows everything. But obviously, you know, deep down, I know the truth. You know,
my wife's a great cook.
Food, I would imagine, really, you know, and that's why I don't think I've ever been a chef. Because if I was a chef, I wouldn't be enjoying it as much. I think food is probably I love that more than anything else.
Well, we're both very lucky because my wife is
son's laughing at me. He's like, you know, grinning.
Anthony, I love you.
Yeah. But what about you? My background is, you know, I was born in London, right? My parents obviously from Naples, and my 4 brothers were all born in Naples. So when my dad moved over, he immigrated here in 1956. Then I was born in 57. So, you know, my brothers always said I was never Italian. You know, I was the English one, never Italian. I was always teased. Even when we watched the World Cup, you know, the World Cup, I would support England, they would support Italy. But then if England lost, which they usually do, then I would then support Italy. So at least I had both. You know? I
believe your team is Chelsea, correct?
That's right. Yes.
That's right. Yep.
Well, that's a good one now. There's no football going on, so I'd like to see how that moves into a new realm of social distancing and whatever. I think we're going to have you know, social distancing to a certain degree, but then, you know, there's going to be things, you know, like doing a hair show. Maybe we need to do hair shows, do the show, and it's virtual, and you get everyone there. And they're all there in a different way.
Who knows?
There's lots of different things we can do that keep us, you know. Look, it's not a good time. It's not good for a lot of people. But what's important is that you prevail it and you keep moving forward. And it allows you to focus on how you can share what you do, because we can't solve everything else. Everyone else is doing that. We can be part of that. We can, you know, stay at home and do what we're supposed to do. And we can give money and we can give to charity and everything. But what we can do, though, is we can do stuff for us, which is our industry and our world, and, you know, the people that we've grown up with, our community. Say, you know, our community of hairdressers, which is worldwide, and just see how we can do stuff to get them to, you know, keep on going and keep enjoying it and making money and surviving and enjoying life.
Yes, and there's so many people out there in need, which brings me up to our May 17th opportunity, which is.
You've got to tell me, that looks amazing what you're doing there. You need to explain.
Thank you, Anthony.
I didn't quite get what. I know I've been, you know, honored that you've invited me. And I know you've got some amazing people, Robert, and so, you know, loads of other people there. So how are you going to do that? Are you doing that? Well, then people are coming up, and then you're going to just get them on and talk to them. And go
so what's going to happen, Anthony, is, you know, my intent for this Social-thon is that there's so many people out there in need here in the U.S. So I want to help them raise money for the Professional Beauty Association COVID-19 Relief Fund. So what I did, Anthony, was just thought, you know what, I want to do like a telethon and call it a social-thon, which is basically getting all of my heroes, my legends, some of the legends, my personal heroes, my friends, my mentors, coaches, etc. I just wanted to reach out to my friends and say, hey, would you like to participate? And I have to say, Anthony, I thank you personally, but the response before I could even finish telling people was, yes, Sam, I want to participate.
Sam, you're doing an amazing job, you know, just kind of rallying people together, getting them to focus. And you know what? It's no different than what you've been doing before. You've got it, you know, we've got a different reason to say stuff now, but at the same time, it's still saying the same stuff, you know?
Yes.
We want to make people better. We want to get them so they get motivated and excited. And you want to do it in a way that we can support the people that can't do that. And
That's
I think
correct.
You know, what you're doing there is about supporting people that can't do that. And we have a similar thing over here, HAAB, or, you know, there's a few other things that we're exploring.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to do it myself, but I'm just trying to explore it and, and trying to see how we can support it and how we can help. Because I think, if you're, one of the things we're doing with in-fringe, most people in in-fringe, they're all freelancers. Yes, we do stories about people. But
I love it.
The people on it are freelancers.
Yes.
So if they're not earning money, they don't get money. They have to get their money by doing a job. And, so there is that element of, someone who's an artist that makes, a bit of sculpture, another one that's, doing session work and trying to get breakthrough. At the moment, no one can go to work. You can't go and do someone's hair. You can't, they're not shooting. They're not doing anything. I think everything's been affected. But, we need to try and have a platform for these people to see how they're coping, how they're doing. And just, I think more than anything, is that you're not on your own dealing with your own situation. Right? I don't think we have to do, it's not what we can do. No, we can only do what we can do. But what we can do more than anything is communicate and have them, somewhere that they can feel that they're part of. And I think that's important, creating that community and letting them feel they're not on their own. Where do I go? But they can, they can communicate, they can listen, they can chat. And, I don't mean on a one-to-one basis at this level, but at the same time, if you can do that with some of your clients and some of the people that you know really well, then, I've been trying to do that, just phone people up and whatever. But I think that's going to be amazing there. And I think maybe, someone can do the same thing in England, maybe, or it's for the world, really. It's for our community. I think that's what
I think, that's the main point. My hope, Anthony, is that when this whole, call it whatever you want, crisis is over, that there are no borders in our industry, that the hairdressing community unites together, meaning employers and employees and independents and platform artists and session stylists, that we're all in this together, hairdressers supporting hairdressers and brands supporting brands and salons supporting salons. Yeah. It's so important that we understand this is an opportunity to reset the button in this industry and cultivate connections. And this is the opportunity that I want to do on May 17th with this Social-thon. Everybody's going to have 30 minutes. Most of the people are coming on. They're going to be doing some hair. Anthony, you're going to be a guest. You can do some hair or talk.
I'm doing hair. Am I doing hair? Well, you can do hair about it. Maybe I'll get my son to do a painting or something.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want and talk. But the idea, once again, is to help the hairdressers in need on May 17th with this concept of a social-thon.
No, I think it's great, Sam. I think it's great. And I think also what you just said about getting rid of all those barriers where we're all of a sudden hairdressers can become international, and that can be done the way we're doing this.
Yes, it can. It really can.
We're communicating with all over the world with this new kind of platform. I mean, the platform's been there a while, but we have a real positive reason to use it at the moment. But then how do you change that whole, there's different things in hairdressing. There's things where, you're selling something, and the other one is there where you're supporting and you've got worlds of creativity, you've got loads of different bits. And again, you've got to have all of them. You can't do something like in-fringe where, you don't have any ads, no branding, no nothing. If you don't work and do something and have that whole ethos of, what we did with Toni Guy and what we did with TG, and the same as what you do, is offering a service in either in the salon or within the educational base or both or whatever. So, I think what you're saying, though, it could be great to establish people from all over the world, all different hairdressers that then are doing this to unify everyone together as much as possible. But this isn't just for now. I mean, this is going to carry on. If we have social distancing, it's going to be difficult to do a show where you all gather in and have a party. I mean, it's I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will anyway, because that's what we like, hairdressers. Yeah. But if we can create that situation in a different way, and create that. It's about camaraderie and communicate and kind of belonging. And if we can create that even in this virtual world, it'd be amazing. I think we should try.
Yes, it is, my friend. So that said, you mentioned Toni Guy and TG. There's an individual that I have that's with me on my team. And, we all have a right-hand man. And this guy is my right-hand man. And he goes back to when he was a TG ambassador. And I want to bring him on board here. Put your hands together, people. Raise a big thumb up. Andrew Carruthers. Welcome, Andrew Carruthers, Education Director for Samvia, the brand. And Andrew, you were once a TG ambassador, my friend. So I just found this out, Anthony, recently when I came back from Madrid and talked about and what we wanted to do together and things. So Andrew, an opportunity to once again see
you. It's good to see you, Andrew.
It's good to see you, Anthony.
You know what? You know, and it's the whole thing of when, you know, if it be with TG or Toni Guy or Ricky or whatever, it's always great to have that kind of vision and camaraderie where you're moving forward and kind of all sharing what's going on. It's great to see you working with Sam, and I'm sure you're very inspired because he is very inspirational. So
yeah, and it's cool because it's been such a natural progression from the time that I worked with you guys. Because what's been great with Sam is that, you know, he has such a strong Redkin background, and of course he looks to a lot of other people. But what was cool is when I first came in with him, he was actually excited about the fact that I had TG and Toni Guy background, I had Paul Mitchell background, and that I was going to bring some of that to our team. So
of course.
Big props to Sammy for always kind of creating that environment for us, that it's, you know, everything goes.
Well, I think, you know, the thing is, Sam, though, the way that you work the thing, you're a pure educator, really getting people to be better. You know, when you got the award the other day, because I don't know if everyone knows, you got the award for, you know, the being the social media, you know, being out there, really getting to connecting with people for the right way, and for whatever way, you know, for hairdressing, and you know, and you made that little talk that you gave. That talk was inspirational, you know, so motivating, and that's what you do great. And you know, hopefully at the end you can just give us a little bit of that talk just to close, because I always love that. But you know, what Andrew's saying is absolutely right. You know, it's having people you work with that, one, you respect, and two, that you have the same kind of feeling of what you're achieving is great. You know, I think that's
Thank you, Anthony. You know, Andrew, take me back to a moment. Was there a first moment when you met Anthony that really kind of touched you and you made a connection? Was there anything, you know, how did you guys meet, or when did you first meet Anthony?
So the first time was at TG World Release in Dallas, and I just started apprenticing with Tyson Daniel.
Okay.
And we were prepping for, I got to come back in the prep room. And I mean, this was like one of the first years that I was even a hairdresser. And so I come into the prep room and I'm just totally starstruck, you know, everyone, you know, all of my hair heroes are back there. And we got set up and he was helping to do some prep and I was helping him out. And you were right next to us. And I kept kind of like looking over my shoulder, like, oh my gosh, Anthony Mascolo is right there, you know? And so Tyson introduced me to
hello?
you. Oh, totally. Yeah. You were super cool.
It's my Italian background. You're going to say hello to her.
Yeah. So the thing that you asked me though, and I'm going to ask you this question and see what you answer, because you were like, all right, you know, Andrew, if you could ask me just one question today, what would the question be? And I was so on the spot, but it was just this question was on my mind at the moment. I said, well, Anthony, how do you know when a haircut is done? So I'm going to ask you that question. How do you know when a haircut is done?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know when it's done, when you're finished. That's when it's done. But the most important thing is know when it's finished. You know, and that I think, you know, you learn as you go along. I think sometimes there are different rules for creativity, artisticness, and discipline. All right, when you know a cut that you're doing, all right, you know when it's finished. If you're doing it artistically and you're just feeling and you don't know what you're doing, then you don't know when it's finished. So when you do something, you need to know what you're doing. And if you're practicing on a different way. You know, when I've always, you know, when I'm doing it, I think this when I started. When I ever did a haircut, I would know what I was doing before I would do it. I had to, because you can learn, you can make mistakes, and that you do before, and you do it as you go along, but you prepare yourself. Maybe I'm giving too much of an answer. I don't know. When you finish, it should be finished when you finish. So when does it finish with you?
Well, it's funny because the answer you gave me was actually kind of similar, because I tell this story all the time especially when I go into hair schools, because, you know, it's something you do struggle with when you're first starting out. And your answer at that point was, well, you either know because you're finished and you know it's done, or she's bald.
But there you go.
I love it.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah. So how are you doing anyway? What are you still doing hair? Are you still cutting hair and teaching?
Yeah. So I don't work in the salon anymore. A couple of years ago, we moved here to now live in the country on 7 acres of land, and like do country boy kind of stuff. But behind me is our studio, so we produce tons of education content. So yeah, no longer in the salon, but definitely still pretty much my full-time job is just educating and teaching and creating content.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I think you couldn't have a better person to work with.
I absolutely agree. And like I said, it's just so cool because he gives us, we have 2 other people on our art team. We have Anna Peters, who's incredible with long hair. And we have Jesse Linares, who's just an incredible hair cutter. But what's so cool is that, the 3 of us that cut hair on the team, we do hair so differently. And Sam has so much respect for that. And he always promotes that, hey, if you want to learn this kind of hair cutting, see Jesse Linares. If you want to learn this kind of hair cutting, check out Andrew Carruthers. If you want to see this,
So important to... Everyone's got a great skill in something. I've got Akash Bodhi, who's brilliant doing all the... brilliant cutter. All right, he's brilliant, but he does all this fancy stuff and he really puts detail. You've got Thomas Osborne that can cut like a dream.
Yeah.
And Christelle that colours like amazing. So all of them do something amazing. Yeah. And I think that is, Sam's got a good grip of that, because I think it's important to let people excel in what they do good and not tell them what they don't.
Right.
And that's, for me, it's always been an important thing. Have we lost Sam? Is he gone?
Yeah, his internet has been terrible. So he sometimes has to go off and reset. So he should be back on here in just a minute.
But where are you, Andrew? Are you in what city?
I'm in a small town called Talent, Oregon. It's just south of a town called Medford, which is even a tiny little town. I'm maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes north of the California border.
California, or what state?
Oregon.
Oregon. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We got him back.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
He's back.
Yes.
He's alive.
All right. So Andrew, I just want to
thank you. He had a great chat.
Yeah. I don't know isn't he cool? Isn't he cool? He's a great guy.
Cool.
Thanks,
cool.
Sammy.
You've got a great team, and you're motivating them brilliantly, and that's what it's about.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the time, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Great to see you, man, and hopefully see you in person soon.
Yes, for sure.
So, Andrew, we're getting Anthony, we're getting to an end here, my friend, and I just want to ask you, just some like if the future of the industry, we talked about that. So, if you could give some words of inspiration, that you would like to pass on to others, what would that be?
Well, Sam, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you. You tell me those words of inspiration to everyone, because I need them from you at this moment. Because when I heard you that time in Madrid, it was brilliant, and just that little bit.
You did turn around.
My words of inspiration is that I'd love you to say something, because what you're going to say is going to make us all feel really good.
Well, listen, my friend. Let me just say it this way. I just want you to know that. Listen, guys. If Anthony can do it, and I can do it, you out there can do it. And I think the youth need to know that. But what I want the youth to know is this. These are people that we need to know. This man over here. These are people that you need to know. The Trevor Zorby, the Robert Labettas, the Anthony Mascolos. The list can go on and on. Yes, there's some great new talent out there. But I want you to understand where the new talent got their ideas and where they got their inspiration. It was from guys like this that have really inspired us. So everybody's always asked me, as I said in the beginning, the intent and purpose of this is to create awareness. The intent and purpose of this is to motivate and inspire people, especially in today's world and what we're going through. But most importantly, in today's world, it's a time to overprotect and not overact. It's so important that we understand that, and social is an opportunity where we have an opportunity to act. But let's keep it positive. And that's what Anthony and I hope to instill out there is positivity in the industry, and understand that there's plenty to go around for everyone. It's just up to you to go out there and get it. So thank you so much. Anthony, anything you'd like to say, my friend?
I just want to say thank you very much, Sam. I've been looking forward to this, and it's great. It's already over. But, you know, from when I saw you again in Madrid, you know, because we've met many, many times, and back in the days of St. Christopher's Place and whatever.
Yes.
But, you know, re-meeting and connecting was a great, great experience. And it's great that we're able to then at least share some stuff that we do and have done to all the people that are out there. So, you know, I'm looking forward to the fond, or whatever what's it called? The hair fond.
Social-thon.
Social-thon. Yeah.
Yes.
And that'd be great. But more than anything, you know, I think people, you know, that are out there, you know, they're obviously there because they know you and how you've inspired them. Keep that going, because, you know, I got to be honest, you inspired me that night, talking about how you spoke and everything. It was brilliant. So,
Thank you.
Together we can just keep doing stuff and letting everyone know that we're there, and we'll do our best.
Yes. So, Anthony, I hope our paths cross soon again, my friend. I look forward to May 17th.
She's going to come, and Josh.
Pat, I'm giving you a virtual hug, my dear, a virtual hug. Thank you, Josh, for being here. And God bless you and your family. Stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.
I'll tell you what's funny. Tomorrow, Sam, Josh is on Instagram. So
what time are you on, Josh?
5 p.m. Tomorrow, I think, England time. So
that'll be noon Eastern Standard Time for my friends. Make sure you check out Josh, because guess what? He's got some of that creative blood in him. So let's make sure we
connect. Got a lot.
All right, brother. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Sam.
Lots of love to everyone, and keep safe, stay well, and we'll see you all soon.
See you soon. Thanks.